So this looks great. Now I'm just going to grab my brush tool real quick and just paint on my layer mask. We're just going to paint white on our layer mask, just like right here. Just kind of fill in some of these areas here. Now I'm still using this brush, just a heads up there. There we go. Just kind of want to fill in some of these areas. I kind of want to do it, you know, relatively quickly there. And that's looking good. Just like right up here doesn't look, the hair's like a little bit too like coarse in my opinion. So let's see if we can fix that with this technique. Let's just bring this pen path up here. So you can see I'm not necessarily creating new pen paths each time. I'm just kind of seeing if I can work with the same one over and over, because pen paths can be changed at any time. Now I'm just going to go with a soft round brush real quick. There we go. Just because, let's go off of our pen path. Just because I just think this is too visible up there. So let's just paint black with a soft round brush here. Just painting black on the layer mask. That's just kind of hiding some of this stuff here. We'll bring it back with our nice brush tool. But yeah, it's just a little too visible. So back to our paths and back on our layer mask. Let's right click. We're going to go down to our hair 3. And remember, we wanted to make our brush a little bit smaller and bring up our minimum diameter. So let's right click and we'll go to stroke path, hit OK. Nope, just got to hit X on my keyboard to flip between white and black. Okay, that did not help, so let's go back to our brush tool. Just make our brush a little bit smaller. Alright. Make our brush just a little bit smaller even. You kind of want to define the hair per image, because it's going to look different every single image, right? There we go. We'll bring this in. Like, still the hair is looking a little bit too large, so I'm just going to make my brush a little bit smaller. Go back to my pen tool, and we'll stroke the path there. So, for instance, if your subject is closer to the camera, the hair will be larger, right? So you want to use a larger brush. If the subject is further away, you'll want to use a smaller brush. There we go. So this is looking good. I think we got our brush size in about the size we want it to. There we go. Stroke that path, and we'll bring that up, you know, kind of same up there too. So notice how I'm always kind of starting inside of the hairline and going out a little bit and then back inside. Let's just kind of keep it looking more realistic. There we are. Cool. That's starting to look really good around there. So this is still kind of just taking the majority of like the, you know, the shape of the pen path here, and getting our edges to look good. I'm just going to use my brush tool and kind of fill this in a little bit more. Okay, There we go. Let's hit Control or Command H. I think that looks pretty good. I think, you know, what we've managed to do is we've managed to paint outside of our subject's hair just a little bit. So I'm going to come back in here with our brush tool, same brush by the way, and just do this. Just paint black on my layer mask. Oh, there we go. Not a big deal. We just need to kind of come back in here and fill this back in a little bit. So let's hit P for our pen tool again. So we just went a little bit too far out, so we were starting to include some of the background. There we go. Let's just kind of alter this up a little bit. Keep in mind we have the same you know, the simulate pressure starts off small and gets larger and then gets small again. So if simulate pressure is turned on, the length of your pen path actually makes a difference too. Because it's going to be small over here, get larger towards the center, and get small again. So if you just need there to be more concentration, or you need it to be larger in an area, just make your pen path as a whole smaller. That should work. I'm just going to minus that one out actually. We'll just go with a real simple pen path. Just 2 points here. There we go. It's kind of easier to work with anyway. So again, just holding Control or Command. Alright, let's do a couple like flyaway type of things. Cool. Alright, so we're looking really good up there. Now what we have to do is kind of fill in this area down here. So I've kind of found the brush that works for me. I'm going to just give it I'm going to save it again because I changed it a little bit. So we'll save this here. We'll go to New Brush Preset, and we're going to call this Hair Group 04. So if you guys are just picking this up, Hair Group 04 may be the perfect one for you. There we are. And let's go ahead and bring this down. And again, in this case, I kind of want to disable the layer mask temporarily to kind of see what I'm going to do here, like what my next goal is. Let's go ahead and create these groups here. So we'll right click, P for the pen tool. Let's stroke that path there. All right. There we are. A little bit time consuming here, but the end result is going to be fantastic. There we are. So I've chosen to use a little bit of a smaller brush, which is giving us finer hair. The finer the hair, the longer this is just going to take, you know, because you have to basically do this more times to fill in the area that you need. But also in this case, it's matching the image, and I think that's what's going to give us a realistic result. Alright, let's shift click on the layer mask. That looks pretty good. We're going to kind of come in here and Let's do a little bit of a different. There we go. I'm going to hit P for the pen tool. Let's just click right there in the middle, which will add a point. Let's see if we can kind of create this this hair that kind of does that. Okay. There we go. And I'm going to hit B for my brush tool. Let's just make our brush a little bit larger. And we'll just stroke this path. There we are. All right, looking great. A little bit smaller of our brush. It's going to kind of get these outsides. Now, you'll notice that the center section is really filling in very quickly. These outside sections, not as quickly. If I hit Control or Command H, see that's filling in real quick because that's the center of our brush where it gets larger. But here, I just need to create a pen path where that's kind of the center. So we'll bring this up. See how now that is going to be the center of this path. So let's just stroke that here a few times. There we go. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller for these outside details. Okay, looking good. We'll just kind of bring that in there. So we've kind of taken care of that area now. And then if I hold Shift and click on my layer mask here, we want to do this big turn there. So let's minus out that center point. Again, just holding Control or Command gives us so much control here. See, I'm going to take care of this as well. So let's hold Shift on the layer mask again. B for the brush tool will just make our brush a little bit larger. There we go. And you're going to see we're going to basically build this entire area out now. Notice I'm moving it just subtly every time. There we go. I really want the center of our pen path right about there. And it does take some time, but then it all kind of just comes together. The coolest thing about this is we're just painting with individual strands of hair. Okay, we're almost done. We're not going to get every little detail and things like that in there. I mean, you can most definitely just spend as much or as little time on this as you'd like. There we go. Couple more flyaways out there. Okay, kind of go up in this direction now. So now I'm kind of trying to build out the volume of the hair. Make a brush a little bit smaller. Just doing basically our flyaway work here. Alright, and you're going to see down here, it's just going to kind of fade away, so that's going to be create some really nice flyaways down there too. There we are. Let's just kind of bring that out there. And that's really, really nice. So basically all of that detail is all done with this one technique. It looks so, so good. We're almost done. We're just going to grab our regular brush tool, choose a very small brush, and then kind of paint some of our own flyaways just to get a little bit more mess in there. So let's go back to our brush tool. Okay, we're just going to choose a regular soft round brush now. Or actually, remember we made this hairbrush earlier, this Fleur Hair 1. So let's just make sure we can still paint on it. Yeah, it still looks great. So back to Fleur Hair 1, we'll just paint. These are just our random, we don't follow any rules hairs. You know, these just like the kind of, we're going everywhere. So you want your hair that kind of clumps together, you know, naturally. That makes sense. That's just kind of how hair works. And then you kind of want your hair that's just like, yeah, we're just kind of gonna go anywhere. Fill that in a little bit. You know, kind of coming down from the top. You don't want to do this. That's not going to look real. We're going to kind of come from the top here and kind of just get these individual, you know, flyaways here. Alright, same thing from the top here. So they look good when you kind of combine them. You know, you've got both styles of hair going on. You've got your, you know, controlled, everything is kind of clumping together, and then you've got your individuals doing their own thing. And these tend to be smaller and a little bit less dense. It just helps to make the overall effect look realistic. There we go. Let's look at our layer mask. That is a fantastic layer mask. Look at that. All of those hairs basically over the entire head, all of these we hand painted, which is just so cool. I think we just did a fantastic job. Now we're going to take this layer mask, I'm going to click here, we're going to go to our blur tool and just pop a little bit of a blur on some of these edges so you can see, just zooming in here. I can add blur. That's too much blur, but we just want to do a little bit of blur, especially, you know, some of these flyaways. Okay, it's just going to help all this stuff look a little bit more realistic. You don't want to go too far on the blur, but just a little bit, because the hair is kind of like moving anyway. There's a little bit of motion there, and so just a little bit of blur is going to help out that. And that looks great. See, look at this fantastic flow of hair that we have here, super natural looking, same kind of coming down here and here. We basically just used the existing hair in our image to define how this looks. Let's go ahead and apply our blur. Go back to our blur tool here to some of the areas around our edges, because some of this was kind of out of focus there. Again, this is not actually blurring the image itself, this is blurring the layer mask. So your edge is just going to look a little bit more realistic. And then wherever you decide to put this subject, it's just going to look real. And that's the end result, or that's the end goal. Let's just paint black on our layer mask, just right up here, It's just showing a little bit of the background there. Perfect. And we are good to go. I think that's a fantastic image. Let's hold Alt or Option and take a look at that layer mask. Man, that is just super clean, and look at those individual hair. I'm just very pleased with that. I hope you are as well. So, a time-consuming technique, I know, but also the results speak for themselves. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this section. I'll learn you later. Bye, everyone.